A 14-year-old girl from Russia migrates to Canada, but is she normal? What's up with her mom, and why she hates her? Today's tale is fascinating, so strap on. Our story begins with a group of teenagers having fun in the swimming pool. Then they go back into a pool. Mark, who was trying to making out together but she wasn't interested. So he goes back home. Feeling the heat, he jacked off. Next morning, her mom tries to wake him up. Opening up the blind, she told him that their uncle was visiting them. While gardening, his mom told his dad to get some groceries from the market. Mark was helping her. As they visited, they shared a lunch together. But Mark and his cousin were bantering about that day's lunch, which went a little awkward. Because Zinaida, who was about to marry with Efim, was a little weird. As to their perspective, their mom lectures them, telling the reality about her condition, and not to make fun of it. After a few days, their aunt came back with their daughter, who was Natasha. As they were going back home, they discussed how she was a good girl. Mark, who his friend's house, where he smuggled drugs with him, but his parents were oblivious about his actions, he came back home. They discussed how Natasha is so used to living with her mother, that she might just come out of the bathroom, all naked without hesitation. After that, Efim and Zinaida married to each other and shared a lunch welcoming Natasha and Zinaida into the family. Mark's mom told him to show her the house. So they went on together, him showing around the house. Then he took her to his room. She finally asked him if he had sex with someone. Later, she even told him that if he wants to have sex with her, he is allowed to, even after being a minor. She told how Zinaida will ruin Efim's life. She told him that his mother was a prostitute and she has turned her into one as well. Mark, who worked in his job, returned back home, telling that he wants another job as he wasn't happy with it. So she told him to accompany Natasha, as she is always idle at home doing nothing. Next morning he went into Natasha's apartment, knocking on their door. Zina welcomed him. Zina served him some food, and told him how fortunate she was to marry his uncle. Zina then took her to Natasha, lecturing how she gave her. Natasha ran downstairs with him. Mark, after having a small chat with her, Mark took her to his friend. His friend served him some food to eat. His friend asks about how is Russia, she replied talking negative about it. Later they went to a cafeteria to have some more food and share some of his music with her and walked back home. While having some food with his parents, he said that his mother had told him to look after Natasha, which his dad found really strange and wanted this arrangement to end as soon as possible. Next morning, while Mark was reading something, Natasha showed up, so Mark went to welcome her into the house. They sat on the couch watching TV, telling her that it's good for learning English. But she was interested more on his book that he was reading. She told him to translate the book to her. Later, they went to Mark's garage. There he gave her a bicycle to ride with him. They went together to his friend's house, where he invited her to smoke with them. But Mark took them out of there. Finally, they got back home. Mark took her to their garden to work on the field with her. There she asked him if his parents knew about his smuggling job, to which he denied. He told her that it paid him enough. She asked him to let her try for once. Just when their mom showed up, so they went to have some lunch together. There she told that she liked designing clothes and how she made clothes for her friends. In the evening they walked Natasha back home. And back home Mark's mom was watching TV, his dad, watering plants, and he was watching porn. The next day as usual she came to his house. He told him to try some weed. So he started preparing a joint and lit it up, smoking a joint for her. He then demonstrated it to her further, and she started to understand it finally. She was feeling it. She used his computer to tell it about her friends, but she continued the porn on his computer, which panicked him. She sat beside him showing him her own semi-nude pics on her profile. She asked him if he wanted to see more. So, she undressed her bra and revealed her breast to him, and started stripping for him, and even gave him a kiss. Thereafter they started making out, and shared intimate time with each other. She told him that she was an adult model and his director who shot her pictures to sell it to his Western clients, giving him the context that she was allured by money to get her body being photographed. She shared more details about her life, that how she is used to sexual environment, even glorifying it. She then compared her sex life with her mom's, which was contrastingly different from her. She was helping his mother washing dishes and gardening while having a conversation. From then on, she kept showing up, cycling, reading books together, visiting museums, partying with his friends and returning back home with him. They kept growing more closer together. One day, Mark's mother told her to stay with them as both of their parents wanted to go out for a honeymoon, so they both prepared her bedroom. Later at night they were watching, sharing a small talk with his dad. Mark then went to bed, but Natasha couldn't sleep, so she sat beside him. They went outside of the house, standing beside him in the cold. She was calling him lucky to have a normal family. She reveals how Zina treated Efim badly in his own house. Seeking the intimacy, Mark told her that even his dad was 15 years younger than his grandmother. After a few days, they returned. While chatting about their experience, they told how they stayed in a hotel with antiques. But just then she insulted Natasha, and in return even she started to talk back. Still she was quieted by Mark's mom. They told her to come with, telling her that she was inconveniencing them. She started mocking them about their debauchery between Mark and Natasha, so she lashed out to her, hurting her. She took a knife in her hand but was stopped by Mark's dad. She pleaded and struggled that her mom didn't want her to be happy, so she came to ruin it. Later, finally Mark's mom told her to leave with her parents. Back in the room, Mark was feeling restless, so he messaged her to take care. He even told her to come over tomorrow, and he waited for her next day. Mark walked back to his friend the other day who was constructing himself a pool. They both sat down together. Friend asked him about Natasha. He told his friend that he has been accused of unnatural acts, but his friend brushed it off. Mark was now walking towards Natasha's place. He then reached towards her apartment, knocking on the door, and Zina opened the door. She closed the door and told him to never see her again. As he was walking back home, he was disheartened. He started smoking some weed for his relief, checking his phone, waiting for her message. His life was not going the way he wanted. When he was lying on his bed, he heard a knock on his window. It was Natasha, who was now sitting on entrance of the house with a suitcase. She asked him about why he didn't act it out when he was in front of her mother. Knowing the fact that she was being tortured every day and even his uncle's life was worse just because of her. She told she can't stay here. Instead she told him to join her. She then told that one of the businessmen lives here, who can give her a job. She reveals that her mother has left his uncle and now she can't stay in his house. Neither she can in Mark's. She told that she made Efim catch her while she was in the bedroom with another man, and this made Efim to throw her out of the room. Still Mark took her bag into the house, and so she followed along as well. Back in the room, he offered his bed to sleep on while he slept on the floor. Next morning, he offered her some money, and grabbed her suitcase out of the house. Gesturing her to leave, she walked away. Mark, feeling a pang of hurt, he lay down on his bed, thinking about her. Later in the morning, their parents were discussing about what happened with Efim and Mark listened to them. He went on cycling. Feeling anxious about Natasha, he sat on a railing when he received a call of Rufus, but he didn't pick it up. When he came back, his uncle's car was in front of his house. As he sat there to have lunch with them, he noticed his wedding ring still on his hand. At night, when his dad handed him garbage rag, he went to throw it on the trash can. Next day, he drove back to his friend's house to see the construction and meet him. There he saw Natasha. Rufus told him that she didn't want to see him anymore. She even thinks that he betrayed her. Feeling his hurt on his chest, he pushed back Rufus. Just then, Natasha was looking at him with anger. Feeling a pang of jealousy and anger, he took his cycle and came back to his house. He entered the house to peek into the room, but he saw no one inside. And with that being said, here, our story comes to an end. Thanks for watching, hope you liked the video. Make sure to subscribe and press the bell icon to keep getting more content like this.